Michael, what's on the top of your mind as it pertains to the NFL?
Well, watching the game last night, and I know it's preseason, but I liked Sam Howell when he was a freshman at North Carolina. I thought he had some moments where he didn't play well as he grew up and kind of got in it. But my first reaction to him was, well, he's got first round type talent. It didn't manifest itself. He struggled, the offense, all those things. But I thought last night, as I'm watching this team play, look, I'm not in love with their offensive line by no means. I'm not. I mean, Charles Leno at left tackle worries me all the time. And so I worry about that. But I think they're really good on defense. And I think their ability, if they can create turnovers, they got one from Martin, their second round pick from Illinois last night. Forbes is a really good player. He can turn the ball over. But I really believe that Howe will settle them down offensively. And he doesn't have to be spectacular. All he's got to be is better than what they got at the quarterback position last year. And I think they will. Look, their total's 6.5. This team is a talented team for 6.5. They've got a lot of first-round picks on defense. They've got some young players to play in the secondary. Last year they were one of the best teams in the National Football League on third down defense. They were the best, actually. They were the best. They were the 8th best red zone team. So they do a lot of things well. Now, where they didn't do well was they couldn't score touchdowns, 25th in red zone, and they couldn't convert third downs. I think Howe will make a difference for them. I really do. I think he'll be better than either Wentz was or Heineke was last year.
And I think that's the biggest point right there is that because people hear Sam Howell and they hear 5th round draft pick, like, well, I mean, he must be bad or whatever like that. But they don't think about what he's actually replacing. He's replacing bad quarterbacks in Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz. So the bar for him to clear, for them to get to 7-8 wins, is not that high. No. And as long as he plays to the same level of Heineke and Wentz, and we believe that he can play higher than that level, but if he just gets to that level, which that bar is on the floor, this can be a pretty good team that goes over that win total.
I mean, they beat Philly in Philly last year. Leno gave up a strip sack for a touchdown in that game, and they still won. They still beat Philly, right? They had every opportunity to beat the Giants twice. They couldn't do it, right? The Giants really outmanaged them, outfought them. They did all those things. And Dallas, they played Dallas. Dallas beats them. It's a hard game, but they can play those teams. I mean, they're not physically going to be less than any of those teams they play. They have more talent than the Giants. I think if you would switch Daboll and Rivera, I think Daboll would win more games over there. And I think it's on Rivera to win games. I think a lot of them on. But they have enough players to be better than 6.5 wins. And I think they're going to be a problem. They're not going to be easy. Now, look, they open up with Arizona, and Arizona will come in there. They'll play hard. They'll try to create havoc. Arizona needs to win the turnover battle to win any game. Can they? I don't know. But I do think that, they'll create a problem for Washington. But Washington has enough players. And if they get quarterbacking play, just a little bit of quarterbacking play, I think they can be really. I think they can be 8-8, 9-7. I'm not saying they're going to win a Super Bowl, Femi, by no means. But when you watch Wentz and you watch Heineke, and Heineke can play in spurts, it was just too inconsistent.
Yeah. Heineke, I mean, as poorly as he played last year, it could have been much worse statistically because there was a lot of passes that he threw that defenders, I don't know if they just had some grease on their hands or what was happening, but he threw a lot of interceptable passes that didn't get caught, and then it finally kind of caught up to them late in the season when Rivera went and made that switch going back to Wentz there. And obviously we know Wentz, his play last year was well chronicled at how poor it was, and that's why he ultimately got benched in the first place. But he just needs to play a little bit better than that. And I think this team can actually make the playoffs. Like, I would look around. I know that over the 6.5 is the win total. It's even money on the over. Like, that is really intriguing. But also, if you're inclined and you believe in Sam Howell, like how we believe in Sam Howell, not to be this top 10 quarterback, but just to be kind of just middle of the road, just a little bit, but just be serviceable. If he can do that at 2-1 or better to make the playoffs, that I think is really interesting in an NFC to where outside of those top 3 where you have Philly, San Francisco, and Dallas, there's going to be a lot of teams in that wild card race that are flawed. Why can't the Commanders be one of them?
Right. And there's, so last year they're 7-5-1 and they have their bye week. They had their bye week late in the year, week 14. They come back off the bye and they play horrendously. They turn the ball over 7 times in 3 games. You know, they get beat by the Giants in a game they shouldn't have lost. They get beat by the 49ers easily, right? And then the Cleveland Browns, who, you know, we know that Watson wasn't playing well, and Watson beat, so they turned the ball over 3 times in that game and don't create a turnover. That's their problem. Last year, they were one of the worst teams in creating turnovers, and they turned the ball over. So when you're -6 in the turnover takeaway, it's no surprising you go from 7-5-1 to 7-8-1. And a lot of that was they're coming back off the bye, the decision to go back to Wentz. You know, I mean, look, they put 32 points on the board against Philadelphia in what was it, week 5?
Was it week 10 or something like that?
Yeah, week 10, something like that, right? I mean, they could actually move the ball. They ran the football effectively against Philly. They even turned the ball over twice in that game and still won 32-21.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players on that roster. And last night, you saw the wide receiver room out there on full display. I mean, you have McLaurin, De'Ami Brown, Jahan Dotson. There's talented players. Now, we must say that we have to keep an eye on this Terry McLaurin injury because he left in the game with a toe injury. X-rays came back negative, but we still don't know what the diagnosis truly is on that toe for McLaurin. And those toe injuries can linger, especially for those skill guys. So we have to kind of keep an eye on that for the Commanders here. But I think overall, this is a pretty good roster that just had bad quarterback play last year, and a couple things didn't go their way, which is why they were on the outside looking into the playoffs when at the 3-quarter point, we all thought that this could have been a playoff team.
Well, they had bad offensive line play. Let's not undermine that either. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the problem. Now, they signed Wiley to play right tackle. They brought Leno back. They signed Nick Gates to be their center. They drafted Ricky Stromberg to be in the 3rd round, and maybe he could be the center. I mean, they got to fix the line. They changed line coaches. They moved Juan Castillo from tight end into the line coach. How that works out, I don't know. But they've tried to, and of course, Bieniemy's the coordinator, and so they changed style and approach. I mean, they went from the North Turner numerical number to the Andy Reid West Coast offense. But this West Coast offense that they're running in Washington is really more of the one that was tailored for Mahomes. And Hal can make plays with his feet. I mean, he's not a statue back there. He can move around. He's athletic.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.